Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a while since I posted anything, but that was kind of intentional. I wanted to have an offline summer, and I think I kind of succeeded in that. I had some relapses here and there, but I just wanted to stay away from social media in general and YouTube as well. I do want to keep my social media use very minimal, so that's why I have disappeared I think since the end of June, so I haven't updated you on anything I have read this whole entire time. I have here a bunch of books, but most of them are, well, we'll talk about them later. So the first book I finished in July is a book that I've already talked to you about, and it's nonfiction, New Dark Age, Technology and the End of the Future. I think I've already mentioned this one in my previous wrap-up. I just talked about it briefly. And again, I don't really remember much about this book, to be honest. I know it's a nonfiction. I know it talks about how kind of like humanity has reached the peak and now we're going downwards. That's all I remember from this book, and I don't know if this is a sign that the book is not very memorable or if I don't have that good of a memory. Next, I finished Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. I have attempted to read this book like a few years ago, and I hated it. I hate this book. I was so bored. I just did not the writing didn't work for me. I didn't like the characters or anything like that. But this time when I reread it again, I think this is my favorite Sally Rooney, I guess. We're following two characters in here, and they are writing each other's emails and are living in different parts of the world. One of them is an author, and the other, I think she's a teacher, or maybe works in a publishing house or something. I don't remember exactly, but I really love the friendship between them. Both of them are going through different things in their lives, and they have different relationships, and they keep like updating each other in emails. And I love the writing style. I loved how these two friends talk about multiple different topics. I know that the first time I read this book, the whole thing kind of bothered me because I felt like it was sort of like the author telling us her opinions. But now this time I really enjoyed this. I really love those discussions about various kind of topics. And I think this book happens before the pandemic. I'm not really sure. I don't remember exactly, but I really love it. I have a lot of quotes that I highlighted in here. I don't really use tabs anymore, so you can't really see that I have anything highlighted in here, but I really love this book. Next, I've read Say You Remember Me by Abby Jimenez, which is a book that I've been really anticipating. I really love this author's books. This one is no different. I really loved it as well, but the book is not a 5 stars like her other books. This is a 4-star, and I will tell you why in a bit. So this is a romance between a social media marketing person and a vet. Our main female character, her mother has some sort of memory problems. She has amnesia or something. She does not remember the people around her. She does not remember the things that are happening around her. So her and her family kind of decide to take care of her, keep her in her house, and take turns and to take care of her. And we're following also the male character is a vet who has not very good relationship with his parents, and he kind of tries to prove them wrong and proves to them that he can succeed and do better when they're not around. He's not really talking to them, and he just opened his clinic, and he's the only one working there. He's not really making a lot of money. He has a lot of debts, and because he used that's to open that clinic, and he is very passionate about saving animals. And one day, I don't remember exactly how, but he meets with our main female character, and next she leaves to take care of her mother. So throughout this whole book, it's a long distance relationship, and the parts that we got from them when they meet together are really cute, really good, but I just didn't like them being apart. And also, one thing that really bothered me is the use of the mentioning of social media, not like in books when social media is mentioned. And also, the male love interest was described like Rhysand from ACOTAR 3 separate times, and for that reason alone, I just did not like it. It was a really good book, but I just would have preferred if it wasn't too online, if this book wasn't too modern. It wasn't too, I don't know how to explain, but I don't like when books mention modern things. I don't like when books have social media in them. I don't like when books use like popular books or popular characters to describe something, because I don't like Akatar in general. So yeah, that was one of the reasons. I'm making it sound like I did not like the book. I did like the book, just I have these little critiques. That's why I didn't give it 5 stars. Next book I finished, or really finished to me, is Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. As you can see, I have a tab in here, not a tab, I have this in here. I did not finish it, but I spoiled myself. So if you don't know what this book is about, you shouldn't know what this book is about, and you shouldn't read it, because I truly believe this book should not have been published at all. It really is so irresponsible to have this book out and being published and sold to other people. I kept hearing that this book is very sad and you have to be in the right mind space to read it, and so I waited until I am in the right mind space. But you never are in the right headspace to read this book. This book is just literally just torture. So this book is sold like a friendship. It's like a story of friendship for friends, but this is a lie. There's no friendship in here. Like the first parts in here, we're following JB, Malcolm, Willem, and Jude. They were seeing their friendships because they first met in college in New York. I like that part. We know that Jude has some sort of secret, like he's not really telling his friends about his upbringing, about his childhood. But next, Malcolm and JB just completely disappeared off the story, and we only focus on Jude. Why is that? Because Jude is this very broken character. The author kind of switched to only his point of view and ditched the other point of views. And so this book, if you do want to read it, although I don't recommend it at all, has like every kind of trigger warning or content trigger warning you could ever think of, especially self-harm or self-mutilation, because it's not just described in passing, it's described in details. At some points it felt like it was given a tutorial. I had to pause multiple times while reading this book because it was just too much. I don't think it's necessary to mention that amount of details. You could just tell the story and tell us about how Jude is broken without actually going there, because every single time, like, it was just so descriptive of how Jude is kind of self-harming and like cutting himself. And as I said, because it was giving you it literally felt like it was giving you a tutorial, like it's telling you how he's doing it, like in specific detail. And I understand, like, sometimes, like in the beginning, it was necessary to kind of see how broken and how bad he actually feels, but then it was relentless. It was like page after page after page of just descriptions of him cutting himself and self-harming and doing all of that. And it also kind of repetitive because Willem especially is a character that really cares about Jude, and he says he's his best friend, but not really his best friend. And every single time something happens to Jude, Willem, or like someone in his life, like his adoptive father, tries to understand what happened, tries to help him, but like Jude always lies about it. And I know this is not something that is specific to this book. It's something that is normal for someone who is going through the same things that Jude is going through. But it was kind of repetitive. Like every single time something happens to Jude, and Willem asks him what's wrong, and then Jude lies about it, and they either believe him or they pretend that they believe him, and then they just let go of the topic. It was just too much. And the reason I stopped in this specific section is because I don't think this is a spoiler, but like whatever. This is the first time that Jude attempts to commit suicide, and it was very descriptive. Like the first time it was described, because this is like multiple steps to do it. The first time it was described, I put it down because I didn't want to read that, and we didn't want to read that. And then it kept going and it kept going, so I just decided to just stop because I don't see how this book is going to get better. I saw when I was reading this, I saw the parts heading and it says happy years. Good thing I didn't continue because there's nothing happy about those years. It's just there to kind of give you some hope, but there's really no hope in this book. I ended up spoiling myself, and I'm glad I did not read it because not only this, I don't think this book is really kind of helpful to anyone. It's not really telling the story. It's not really trying to bring awareness to anything. It's just trying to show us that this is a broken person and he deserves to die. And this is the point of view of the author, because she did an interview with Vulture, and she says that some people she says something about against therapy, and she says that therapy is flawed because it believes that like something like life is worth it or something, and she believes that if someone is so broken, then the best thing you can do is just die. And this whole book, like 800 pages of nearly 800 pages of this book, it's just her trying to prove this point of, if you're just so broken, you just should die. And that's exactly what she did with Jude. The reason I said this is not a story about friendship, because we just never really go back to Malcolm and JB's story, and I really was interested in Malcolm's story because he was kind of an interesting character. I wanted to know more about him. We never mentioned them again. And Willem and Jude don't have friendship because eventually they get in a relationship, which is a very messed up relationship again, but still it's much better than the one with Caleb, because that one was the worst. And reading about his relationship with Caleb and the abuse that Caleb has the amount of abuse that Caleb has put him through, just felt like the author was just really enjoying like torturing this character and trying to get emotional reaction out of the readers. Again, this book didn't have any substance, didn't have any purpose other than just to make you cry, which is unfortunate, because I see this book, if you look up A Little Life reading vlog, you would see a lot of thumbnails of people holding this book and crying, and that's just like it kind of became like a rite of passage. Like, if you have to read this book because this is the greatest literature, and it's so sad, and you have to read it, and you have to because we also, all of us readers, it's a book kind of manages to get an emotional reaction out of us, we put it rate it higher. But this book just doesn't have any substance. And also, I'm gonna mention some spoilers. I feel like this book just makes absolutely no sense, because like the childhood of Jude, we know he went through a really horrible childhood. He was found as a baby next to a trash can, and then he was taken by a monastery. He was taken to a monastery, and the monks are kind of, no one wanted to adopt this baby, because that's the first thing that makes no sense to me. He stayed in the monastery. He could have gone to an orphanage, especially because we know that the monks hated him. So I don't understand why they kept him in the monastery, why they've gone through so much trouble to kind of teach him things when they could have just gotten rid of him. I don't understand that completely. And also, the author kind of wrote, the monastery didn't really feel like a monastery. It just felt like a school or something, because where he's the only student in there. And I don't know, there's just so many things that make absolutely no sense in this book. It's just there to make you feel bad, to make you cry, to give you this sense of, I don't know, I don't know why this book should not have existed. And especially because I know that the author only writes about gay male characters, and she specifically makes them go through so much torture, and for that reason alone, I would never be reading anything from this author ever again, and I will be getting rid of this as soon as I can, because this book sucks. I don't understand why people love this book so much and give it 5 stars. Actually, I do understand, because if you read this book until the end and you cry about it and you have such an emotional reaction, then I think people just assume that this is a great literature. But my opinion, this book is not worth it. Do not read it. Don't waste your time. There are so many books better than this. This is not one of them. If you want something about friendship and actual real friendship, not just this, whatever this was, and beautiful writing and just nostalgia and a bit of sadness as well, definitely read My Friends by Frederick Backman, but do not read my A Little Life by Hania Yalagihara. It was not worth it. It's a waste of time. I wish I had not read it. I wish I did not pick it up. And whenever I see it sold out outside right now, I just hope no one actually reads it, because it's so bad and I hate it. Next, I've read Margot's Got Money Troubles by Ruthie Thorpe. I've seen a lot of people have this book in their favorites of last year in many videos. I think I really kind of enjoyed this book, but not too much. It was okay. We're following a college student who was kind of in a relationship with her professor, and he was cheating on his wife with her, and she found out that she's pregnant and she wants to keep the baby. The professor doesn't really care. He just, as long as she's out of his life, he doesn't really care. And she obviously has money troubles, as the title says, because she is a college student. She doesn't really have a support system or anything. And while talking with her dad, who was a wrestler, they were some wrestling match or whatever it's called came up, and he mentioned in passing that person opened OnlyFans, and so she gets the idea to open an OnlyFans as well, which her dad was encouraging her to do, which is kind of strange. So she opened this OnlyFans, and she's trying to understand how to make it work, how to get subscribers in. That was really fascinating to me, to see how that side of the whole thing works. But what I did not like about this book is that all of a sudden she became a marketing genius. All of a sudden she just knew what to do, knew the people who to contact, knew how to promote herself online, and that just felt kind of unrealistic, because most people that actually will be on OnlyFans, none of them will make the amount of money that she has made as a beginner and someone who has no online presence. And also, the thing that I kind of bothered me, which is kind of similar to the previous book that I mentioned, is the fact that TikTok was mentioned so many times, because she kind of reaches out to these two other OnlyFans creators, and they decide that the way to promote themselves is to use skits on TikTok, and those skits made absolutely no sense, because they kind of pretend that they are aliens, and they were just so cringy. And a huge chunk of the book was just describing their TikToks that they're making, how they're getting viewers, they're getting subscribers, and at one point it just became kind of repetitive, and I just did not enjoy it so much. It was 3 stars. It was okay. I enjoyed seeing that whole aspect of it, but I did not like, again, the social media aspect and the TikTok of it, and it just felt too online, which is my critique for the other book as well. The next book I've read is La Vie Heureuse by David Fonkinos. I don't know how to pronounce his name, so I don't know if there's a English translation of this book, because it just came out 2024, I guess, so it's fairly recent. This is about a man who feels kind of stuck in his life. He has been working the same job since he was in his 20s, I think, and he's now, I think, in his 40s. I may be wrong, and he doesn't have anything to look forward to life. And when he goes on a business trip to Seoul, he finds this shop or something, and he goes in there. His life kind of changed. This is not a sci-fi or fantasy book. This is a contemporary novel, and I don't want to say too much about it, because what he finds in there is kind of what will influence his whole view on life and his whole career, his whole life, and people around him and all that, because he kind of gets confronted by death. He kind of has this whole perspective on life, and I'm not going to spoil it too much. I love the writing of this book, but I kind of just felt like it was just a little bit too dragged out. Even though it's short, it should have been shorter, in my opinion. That's why I only gave it maybe 4 or 3 stars. I don't remember exactly. Next up, I have read Le Loup de Steppe, which is Steppenwolf by Hermann Hesse. I picked this book up for to get it to take it with me as a beach read. I know this is not a beach read, but this is the smallest in size book that I have. Everything I own is kind of big, this is the smallest book I have, so I took it with me to the beach to, you know, read during the beach. It was very difficult to get through because the language and the things that are in here is not, this is not a beach read at all. So I was taking my time with it. I was kind of reading maybe 1 page to 2 pages every single few days. So what this book is about, I started it not knowing anything about it, but this is split into three parts. The first part is the story of Harry Heller, and then he finds this thing about himself that he kind of reads, and then we go back to the story about Harry Heller. The first 2 parts were amazing. I did not like this last part where we are in the magic theater. I just felt completely lost in that whole section, and I felt like it ended abruptly. But the first part of him being depressed and not feeling like he belonged in the world, feeling like he doesn't really enjoy things that people enjoy, and he was kind of planning on killing himself when he turns 50, because in the beginning he's 47. I also really enjoyed the part that he finds written about him. That was very well written. I loved how they explained that Harry kind of sees himself like part human, part wolf, part lone wolf, and it basically explains that we as humans kind of see everything that is like good as human, and everything that is bad as non-human, as a wolf specifically. And I just loved how the whole discussions in here, I have so many passages highlighted in this book. I just love it so much, and I did not expect to love it this much. I just did not expect to love this book this much. But the last part is the thing that really brought my ratings down. But if it was just the first part and the second part before the magic theater, this would have been 4 stars. But because of that, I gave it 3 stars, which is still a good rating. I did enjoy it, and I enjoyed my time with it, even though I did not manage to finish it in the beach. Obviously, I have to come back in here, and it took me a pretty long time to finish it. It took me 22 days to finish this book, which is not my usual pace, but I'm glad I read this book. Next, I have finished this book, which I just finished yesterday, I think. I've read In Ascension by Martin McInnes. I really found this premise of this book really interesting. It's basically about a marine biologist who finds something in the sea, and then she kind of gets involved into like figuring all that out. The premise is really interesting. The first parts are obviously really interesting. The last parts I was lost. When they go to last parts, I was kind of lost, and it kind of put my enjoyment down, and kind of felt a bit boring towards the end. So the writing of this book is really good. We're following our main character, who I forgot her name. Helena is her sister. Oh, it's Lee. We're following Lee, and she grew up in Rotterdam. In Rotterdam, she was obviously always surrounded by the sea, so she kind of had this affinity for the sea. She really loved it. And when she got older, as she got older, she became a marine biologist, and they went to this Endeavour expedition, where they just wanted to see how deep how deep this bit of the sea is, or the ocean is. And when they get there, they kind of, after their first dive, her and her crew kind of get some strange symptoms. They start feeling lightheaded, they start like feeling kind of strange, they get fever and all that. So the mission kind of ends abruptly because of that, and also they get their equipment destroyed. So the mission ends abruptly, but in that mission they found this archaea, but none of them have any access to kind of make more research on that. So fast forward to multiple years later, she gets invited to work on this mission to grow algae for a space mission, and she goes there, and then we know that Archaea is responsible for the algae creation. Kind of, they will use the Archaea that they found, and they explain what the Archaea does, and we're just following them through their space mission because she ends up going as well. I know this is not a spoiler because I think this is something that is described in the back of the book, but it's really interesting. I loved seeing the science behind all of that. It's not really a dense book because the author really explains stuff to you, and I really enjoyed this, except for the last parts, which I found a bit boring, because when they go to space, the characters that are with her in the rocket or space thing aren't really fleshed out characters, so I just really didn't care about them. And also the ending really didn't make any sense. I know kind of somewhat of an open ending, but not really, because we know what happens in the end. So yeah, that kind of brought my enjoyment down, so I ended up giving it 3 stars. So the book that I'm currently reading, which I just started yesterday, is A Day of Fallen Knights by Samantha Shannon. I have been really craving some fantasy, some dragons. I've been really craving something that is similar to Game of Thrones, and you know, there's dragons in here, it's fantasy, and also yeah, I'm looking forward to get back into this world. I've already started it, like I'm 65 pages in, which is not that much into it. This book has over 800 pages, 868 pages, so I'm really excited to read this book, and yeah, I will hopefully have finished it by next month, and I will let you know what my thoughts on it. Also, when I was on this summer that I just didn't update you on anything, I ended up buying 2 books, even though I said no longer buying any books. Now I actually have no place to put my TBR, because I keep all of my books. I keep my classics in one shelf. I keep the rest that are non-classics in the top shelf, and I keep books that I did not care about in the bottom shelf. And I have, like, in the middle, I have books that I have not read yet, and right now it's completely full, so I just have to stop not reading. I have to stop buying any books at least until 2026. So these are the books that I mentioned that I bought recently. The first one is One Dark Window by Rachel Gillick. I know this is a duology. The next one is called Two Twisted Crowns. If I do like this one, I will definitely be reading that one. I mentioned this one probably last year when I said I want to read it in full, and I kept calling this book One Dark Widow because I didn't see the N. So yeah, I've heard great things about this book. It's a YA fantasy. I don't really reach for YA anymore, but I've heard great things about this one. But I'm looking forward to reading it. If I do like it, I will pick the second book up, not physically because I don't have any space left. And I also got this book, which is When in Rome by Sarah Adams. This is the same author who wrote the cheat sheets, which I have not read. I picked this book up because I thought it's like Rome in Italy, but it's not. It's like Rome in Kentucky, which is not very appealing. And yeah, I'm looking forward to reading this one. Not right now though, because when I was going on my trip, I really wanted something like that I can read on the beach, and if I had this one, this would have been perfect. Instead, I took with me Steppenwolf. I was just like looking at my co-pilot, and I realized that I forgot to talk about 2 books actually. I don't know how I forgot to talk about them, but let's just go back to the wrap up and ignore that I talked about these books. So the one book that I forgot to talk about is Exhalation, which is Exhalation by Ted Chiang, which is a short story collection, sci-fi short story collection. I don't know how to review short stories because there are obviously stories that I didn't care about, stories that I loved, but overall I really enjoyed this short story collection. My favorite was the life cycle of a software product. My least favorite was probably Exhalation, which is the title. I did not like that one. It just felt kind of rushed and not really fully fleshed out, but I really enjoyed this short story collection. I do like Ted Chiang's writing, and I wish he could write something like full-length novel because I would really appreciate that. I have read 2 short story collections from him so far, which is the only ones that I think he has out. So I'm looking forward, if he does end up writing something full-length, I would definitely read it. The other book that I forgot about is Problematic Summer Romance, and I don't know how I forgot about this book because It's probably the best best romance book I've read this year. It's by Ali Hazelwood, and I said previously that Ali is a hit or miss author for me. This one is definitely a hit. This is the second book in the Not in Love series, or I don't know how many books are going to be, but we're following. I don't remember anything about Not in Love, but this one is definitely a favorite. This is the reason it's problematic is because it's like love story between our main character and her brother's best friend, who is, I think, over than 10 years older than her. She's in her early 20s, I think, and he is in his mid 30s. So obviously there's a big age gap, and I'm against age gap in real life, but it works in here. It definitely works in here, and I like how this book is self-aware. It's also set in Florence, I think. Yeah, I think it's set in Florence. I love the setting in this book. I loved it was set during the wedding of our main character's brother, and so it just felt very romantic. It was fun, it was funny, it was I love the setting, it was just a fun book. Honestly, I really enjoyed my time reading it, and I think it was perfect to read during the summer. I would definitely recommend it. So these are all the books that I've read and purchased and I'm currently reading. I will not disappear like I had disappeared 2 months already. I will come back next week, hopefully, with another video. Till then, thank you for watching. I will see you very soon. Goodbye.